Okay, so we'll start now. Today's session, basically, we're trying to understand as to what are the cabinets, basically for kitchens or wardrobes. What are the different types of cabinets that are available, and how can you customize something to suit the design requirements that you have? We're taking a very detailed discussion of cabinets today because at the end of the day, whenever you're creating any modular unit, it's the cabinets that you actually customize into the different types, add hardwares to it, or change finishes, change shutters, which composes the entire design for you. So we are trying to understand the base of how to create different types of modules that you want. So first, I'll be sharing my screen now. So I hope my screen is visible to all. And you can see that I have taken a blank room right now. And this is my room that I have taken already. And here, whenever you're trying to add any cabinets, you'll go into insert and furnish. When you're going into insert and furnish, you will see basically kitchen furnitures and kitchen accessories if the room is marked as a kitchen. And if you want to see any other cabinets like wardrobes, etc., you can go into all. And here, all cabinets here are shown. All the subcategories and categories we have, like wardrobes, etc., are shown in all. So you can actually use any of them. So let's say I'm going into kitchen furniture. Herein, you can see base units firstly. So I'll be clicking on base units. When I select base units, you see the different types of that are available within Infurnia. First being shutter unit. In shutter unit, you can see the types of shutter units. Let us understand what are the existing options that you have. Then we'll try to understand how to modify it. Because a lot of people, they keep asking us questions on the e-com or in general to our cases, how do I add that? So let us as to what are the existing that are already there on Infurnia. So you can see a unit, there is like a single shutter unit, no shelf. You can see the display images of all these and you can use accordingly. You can see that there is one with shelf. There are two shelf ones with shelf, without shelf. There are one with two shelves. So accordingly, whichever one you select, you can add it to your particular design. You can place it in your particular design. And you can see that I'm placing it in my design now, right? So this is how you place it. And inside all of these, you can see that there are different sizes of this particular type of module. You can see that there is 300 mm width module, there is a 350 mm width module. So there are different types of modules that are available. So if you are going with something fixed, like usually you'll be, since it's a modular furniture, you will be going with something which is 450, 500, 550, 600. So use the correct module. When you use the correct module, what happens is that although you can modify it and all, that's not a problem. But Infurnia's catalog is planned in a way that there are different modules already has the name written here. So when you generate a quotation or when you generate sort of a production output, SKU name of the product comes there, and the SKU name will have all the details there already. So it suggested because the info catalog is designed in that way, you can design your catalog however you want. But
Shivana, your
Infurnia
voice
catalog
is not
is
coming clear
designed in
to
this
me. Your voice is not coming clear to
Voice
me.
is not proper.
is it better?
Elevation final
Little better.
Is it better now? Okay, I hope my voice is better now.
Yeah, it's better. I guess someone's mic was on.
Okay, we've turned off everyone's mic now. So I think we'll just continue. If there's any problem, please do raise it at that point, right? So you can see that the SKU names of the same are written like this. So it is suggestible to use it accordingly. However, if you are planning your catalog in a different way, then you can use your catalog in that way. Then there comes drawer units. You can see the different types of drawer units that are available already. A lot of times people ask us like, how do we add drawers, subtract drawers? You can definitely customize it, and we will go into that as well. But we have already created everything and kept, so you can actually use your drawers accordingly, the different size of drawers that you need. A lot of people also ask us about wicker baskets. So you can see that inside the drawer units, there are two wicker basket units also. So use the categories accordingly. Then comes your pull-out units. The pull-out units have the your two-tier pull-out units, spice rack and bottle pull-out units. You can use those. And in corner units, you can see that there are L corners, there are blind corners, there are different types of corner units that are available with us already. So you can select from there. Then open units will have all the shelves where like there's units like wine racks and all. And there are open unit shelves with two shelf, three shelf, etc. Then there are sink units. So you can actually, sink unit typically consists of, one with one shutter, one with two shutter. So we have both of them available. We also have shutter and drawer units. So you can use a combination of it wherever required. Then comes your cylinder units. We also have cylinder units that are available with us where there is no bottom panel, so that that is the design that is usually required. So there's no bottom panel in these particular cabinets, so you can use cylinder unit also. We have appliance units also available with us, wherein you can have a built-in oven, and dishwasher also can be added in another one. Then we also have ready-made breakfast counters which are available with us, so you can actually use these. Then, in a similar way, we also have wall units. If you look at wall unit here, we have units in wall units as well. So you can see here, we have shutter units, we have lift up units, then all these lift up, different types of lift up units we have. So you can actually use it accordingly. Then we have open, then we have shelves, the different types of shelves that you might want to use, and the corner units that are available. We also have and rolling unit shutters. So it's just loading. One second. You can see the different rolling and shutter units here. The appliance units like AquaGuard, water purifier, and all, my loose microwave units. We have different units. Then somebody had recently asked about curved corner units. So you can see in special corner units, we have curved corner units, pentagonal corner units, etc. Right? Then we have smart cubes also. Smart cubes meaning these sort of metal units with glass shelvings or solid wood shelvings. So we have smart cubes and all also. Now, I've given you an example of two of our categories which are most highly used. One is the base unit, one is the wall unit. But suppose if you don't have something in your particular catalog, then how do you add it? Because Infurnia keeps updating its global catalog or its warehouse continuously. So what you can do is you can go into the admin portal. Here you can go to catalog. Let's say you want to add a furniture and you want to add a base unit. So you can go into that particular category and then you can go into add from warehouse option. So when you add from warehouse here, you can choose the Infurnia warehouse here. If you're subscribed to any other warehouses like Material Depot or Hetic, where you can subscribe to those also and download from there. Typically for cabinets and all, Infurnia default is what you will select, and you can see that these are the like corner units where you can see these corner units are not part of my catalog. So I can actually select any of these corner units and apply it. So it will get added. And once you add it to your catalog, when you're going back to your design file, please refresh it once and then it will be visible, because it has to be synced to your current catalog. Then if you refresh it, it will sync up and then you will be able to see that particular item in your catalog. So you can add new cabinets as and when we keep getting requirements from clients about something, some different construction or some different type of cabinets, we keep adding to our warehouse. So you can check the warehouse regularly and use whatever is required for your designs. Now, suppose add any particular cabinet here, then how do you customize it according to requirement? What are the possibilities that you have for customizing a cabinet? Let's go one by one. So when you see when you see a particular cabinet, you see there are different tabs here. These tabs are the parts of the or the sections of the cabinet in which you can customize it. Like the cabinet here will have like the whole cabinet's construction, like visibility of the panels, all those details will be part of it. Partition is basically the inside of the cabinet and what you want to do with the inside combination as to how many shelves, drawers, what do you want to do with it. So partition is about that. Shutter system is about the shutters that you have, what handle you want to use, where you want to place it, what is the shutter mechanism you want to use, etc. So this is about the shutter system. The shutter the shutter that you have here, you can select on the shutter tab, you can select basically the shutter design, whether you want to have a profile shutter or normal shutter. If you want to have a normal shutter, you want what design of shutter you want to use. Then if you want to have two finishes on your shutter, then how do you do that? If you want to add a mirror, all these are part of the shutter. Then comes your panel. The panel is basically, if you're clicking on this particular panel, then of course the cabinet does get selected. But whenever you're selecting a particular cabinet, right, you have to click somewhere, right? And that particular somewhere is also a panel. So if you want to make changes in that particular panel alone, then you can go into the panel option and you have options to deal with the panel there. So these are the tabs that you will see. Now, at the other tabs also, you have added something that you've added there, and you will see mirror. So you will keep seeing tabs, and this is how you flip between the tabs by clicking on them, because each section deals with a certain amount of information of that cabinet. Because we are working with rich in information about what is because this is not like AutoCAD drawings, right? Where there's a simple line alone. This is a very this cabinet, the model itself has informations that are required to manufacture it. So let's go into each of them. So when you're going into cabinet, the first tab that you see here is a quick access tab. Basically, this will have all the options. That the second option is the customize and the construction. So out of the customize and construction, whatever is the most used options, right, that we have put with the quick access option. So for all of them, you can see the quick access has certain options and the customize and construction has other options. So we will go in customize. In customize, the first option you can see is adding a strip light. If you want to add a strip light to the cabinet, if you want to add down, you want to add a strip light. If it's a wall, you want to strip light under it, then option comes into existence. Add here, and you'll get the option of adding a strip line. So this is how.
But still, your
Your
voice.
voice is not audible.
Yeah, you're not audible.
Breaking.
Your voice is not coming clear.
Just 1 second. Just give me 1 second, please. Is it better now?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm extremely sorry if the connectivity with today is not that great, but I'll get a solution done for this. So you can see that, suppose, let's say if I'm going to furnish wall unit, and I'll just put a wall unit also here so that we can use relevant information wherever required. So let's say in this cabinet, you can see in the customize there is strip light. If I add on it and I select the strip light that I want to add, you can see that the strip light is now added. And when you add a strip light, you can select the strip light and change the positions for it in the position option here. We had learned earlier that Z axis is what you have to change if you want to position it. Let's say 100 mm, I'm changing it. So it will position it accordingly. So that is how you add a strip light. And the same thing is about adding like A cabinet light also, if you want to add inside, then that is also possible, like we had discussed earlier. Like we can add um, cabinet lights also if you want here. Then the second option that you can see in any particular cabinet, right, it's a hardware. So hardware, if you are part of only design, then you will have to add hardwares manually here. If you're part of the manufacturing plant with Infurnia, there are automated ways of putting logics as to how hardware gets added. But if you are adding hardware manually, then you can click on the add hardware option here. And here you will see like connectors. You can see in connectors there are channels, dowels, hinges, minifixes, etc. So suppose if I select hinge here, right? If I select hinge here, then you can see that the hinge gets added here, and I can add the quantity of hinge that I want. Let's say I want 2 hinges. So now two will get added, and whatever hinge I had selected here, right? Like I have only one hinge available here, but if you use like multiple different types of hinges by headache or however you want, you can actually get the SKU name as per the name of the hardware, etc., and then put it. And then when you generate the code for the same, this will also get added. The hinge price will also get added accordingly. So this is about adding a hardware. You can of course add multiple hardwares whenever you want, like connectors. Let's say you want to add a minifix also to it. So you can see minifix added here, and you can add the minifix also accordingly. So this is how you can add hardware. Then the next thing is about adding accessories. In this particular accessory, like there are no accessories as such to add in a wall unit, so it's not showing here. But if you have any accessories that you want to add, then you can use this option here. Then the second option that comes is your dimensions. Dimensions of a cabinet are always customizable unless and until there are some rules or constraints that have been put in your catalog by your catalog manager. It is always customizable unless there is a rule that is put. So let's say you want to modify the dimension to 900 mm, you can simply select the same and it will become 900 mm. If you want to change it to 450, let it become 450. So according to your requirement, you can change the depth, height, and width of a particular cabinet. Now, what is rules in this? Rules are basically sizing rules that you can put on a cabinet. Like you can basically put the maximum depth and uh, minimum depth and maximum depth of a particular cabinet. You can constrain it. Like you can constrain it at a organization level also, where you can manage your catalog. But even in the design stage, suppose there is a particular cabinet which is not possible to be created beyond a certain size because hardware is not available, or it might have a bending problem, it might have any other issues, so it is not suggestible. So you can put minimum and maximum depth. Let's say minimum I'm putting 50 mm depth. No, let's say minimum I'm putting 200 mm depth, because let's say you're using certain shutter designs where that shutter cannot be made um, in a size lesser than 200 maybe. So in that case, in the width of the cabinet, you'll have to put a rule that 200 is the minimum width and maximum width can be, let's say, 600 mm. So if you put a constraint like this here, then what happens is when you are changing dimensions, we had put a constraint here, right? So if I am putting 150 mm here, then it will show an error that the new width is less than minimum width. So you can put rules like this as well. While making rules like this for at a cabinet level in your design is not very useful, because you'll have to go into each and everything. But making such rules in your admin portal, like suppose if you select any particular cabinet and you go into SKU, um, please note it'll have to be a owned item. You have to see a owned product. Difference between owned and non-owned is that this particular non-owned product is owned by Infurnia, so you cannot go and make changes on it. But if there is something which is marked as owned here, that means your organization, your catalog manager owns it, and you can make any amount of changes on it. So if you go into SKU structure of this particular cabinet, then generally putting a rule on that is like makes sense, because every time that is put in a design or it's added to a design, that rule will start getting activated. So if you want to put catalog rules like this, then you can put it in your seller portal. Design also you can put it, definitely we have kept it open, but it becomes a little tedious job to put it in the design portal. So you can actually go into your customize option. Here also you see rules, right? The interface is very similar, so you whatever you're learning in a design portal works in the seller portal also. So you can see you can put constraints here, and you uh, that will be activated every time that is used in a design. So for each and every cabinet, you can actually make such rules if you want. Then shelf restrictions also, like you can put shelf restrictions as to what is the maximum width, height, depth that a particular cabinet can take. Similarly for drawers, for cabinet, shelf, drawer, you can set accordingly. So this is the about setting rules for sizing, right? This is about rules for sizing. Then let's go into the next thing, which is materials. That is, I think almost all of you would be aware of this, meaning that there are two tabs here. One is carcass, one is shutter. You can make change in the carcass external finish. Carcass external finish is basically this area outside. That is a carcass external finish, and you can select anything by importing it from your catalog by clicking on the fetch from store option. Whatever options you have here, whatever you select, will get added in the carcass external finish. External meaning the outside area of the panels. All the panels, the outside of it will be covered in external. Then you have the internal finish also here. So internal is the inside one. So let's say I'm taking this, and you can see the internal is also changed. So you have the option of changing it separately. Then this is how you can change it. Then comes the core material of your carcass. Core material meaning the panel. A lot of people ask us about how to change the panel thickness. They have been asking us on the intercom about panel thickness. So the core material, if it's a 16 BWR ply, then that ply has a particular thickness, right? It is the property, the thickness of the panel is a property of the core material. So 16 is the core material thickness. Then if your laminate thicknesses are 1 1 each, then it becomes 18 the total panel becomes 18 So you can change the core material or the panel thickness by changing the core material here. So if you go into this, you can see that in BWR ply, I have 6 12 16 25 So whatever panel size I want, I can use it. If I'm using a 25 panel here, then you can see that the panel size changes here. So how to change a particular panel's thickness? By changing the core material of it, you can change the panel thickness of it, right? This is how you do it. Then for any cabinet, a lot of clients, they what they do is the back panel core material, they have it in a different finish, like they might have a thinner core material for it. So you have the option of actually inheriting it from linked SKUs. Like suppose if you use it, you can actually link the SKUs from the core material, meaning that if there is a 25 pad, like this is in admin, if you go into hardware and if you go into the ply finishes here, you can see ply here. If I go into the 25 ply that I was using, if I go into SKU properties of it here, okay, I have to own this particular product. Huh? So let's say 16 one. If I go into SKU properties, I can go into linked. So if you link it, like you can basically do this, that you can link a particular back core material to it. So you can go into hardware, select hardware, ply. You can select like you are selecting a BWR ply here of 6 SKU, and you can select like whichever ply you want here, and you have to mark it that you want this particular ply to be the back panel core material. So if you mark it like that and update it, then every time this particular 16 one is selected, then it will have the finish of the linked back core material. Now if you don't want to have anything, then you can just not have any linking, and you can customize it accordingly. That is one thing. Then the visible edge bands and the invisible edge bands. So what are visible edge bands? What are invisible edge bands? So if you see in a particular cabinet, right, you can see this particular edge band. Like your customer or you, when you're looking at a cabinet, can see this edge band, right? This edge band is the visible edge band. But if you look at this cabinets, this particular edge band, the edge band on this finish, this panel here, or in both these panels, this in this particular panel, the edge band that is fixed here is an invisible edge band because it will not be seen to anybody. But this is a visible edge band. But this is an invisible edge band here. So that is not going to be seen by anybody. So a lot of people, what they do is that in order to reduce the costing or whatever reason be it, they use visible edge bands in a different shade, and sometimes they do not put any invisible edge band, or they apply different types of invisible edge band. So you can actually apply different finishes here by selecting accordingly. So you can add whatever edge bands you want here. Then the internal finish, which was already discussed earlier, about how to change the internal finish of a cabinet. The same thing is true for shutters also. When you select on shutter, you have the same options in shutter as well, and you can make any changes you want in the shutter from here. So this is about the shutter now. Now, next thing about cabinets is your countertop. Like when you select a particular cabinet, you can see the next option that we have is countertop. In countertop, the first option is whether you want to have a countertop or you don't want to have a countertop. So you can actually customize it here. Then comes the material of the countertop. What finish do you want the countertop to have? Let's say I'm selecting this and the countertop material will get updated. Next comes your edge operation. So suppose if this is a countertop, right? The edges, that these are the edges, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 edges. So you can see left. Front left meaning this edge, right? If you look at a cabinet from here, front left is this edge. So here, if I want to have any different like fillet or chamfer, let's say I'm taking fillet. So you can see that this gets filleted by the radius that is marked here. If I take 100 fillet, which is too much, but just for the sake of discussion, we are taking here. So you can see there's a 100 fillet that is created here. So this is edge operation. Then comes thickness of the particular countertop. You can either inherit from the SKU property, meaning that in the admin portal, if you open any countertop, let's say I'm opening a countertop finish here, countertop in finish countertop, you can see any of these countertops, you can see the properties here. There is a property of thickness also. So whatever thickness you're putting in the SKU will get added automatically here. But if you want to change it only for that particular design, you can select self and then you can update it. Let's say you want to make it 100 like you can make whatever you want. Basically 100 is too much, but you can make whatever you want. So let's say 30 you want to make it, you can make the countertop that much thickness. Then comes accessories. If you want to add any accessory over the particular cabinet, the most important being the hob. Suppose I want to add a hob to this particular cabinet, and I can click on this and I can select the hob, and hob will get added here. So this is how you can add any accessory, and you have to understand that this accessory now becomes part of the cabinet. So it will move when the cabinet is moved. So this is about adding accessories. Then in accessories, you also have sinks. Then you also have an option of add countertop ply. Some people, they might want to have a countertop ply under the granite. So you can actually use add countertop ply, and you can see that the ply is added here. So you can actually use this option also wherever you want, and remove countertop ply if you don't want it. Also, you have the extension option. You can extend the countertop on any side. Let's say I'm extending on the left side by 200 then you can see that the countertop gets extended by 200 So this is about extension options. Then countertop drop. Uh, I hope all of you remember this from the previous discussions that we have been doing about how you can have a countertop drop anyway. Let's say in the front you have a countertop drop, and you can give the height of the countertop drop however you want, let's say 50 and the countertop will have a drop accordingly. So you can customize the countertop as well. Then comes your, just a second. Give me 2 minutes gap. Yes. So we were discussing about the countertop here. So you can see all the details of the countertop we can do here. We have discussed everything now. Then next comes, after countertop comes your position and rotation. For a cabinet, if you want to change the position and rotation, let's say for a wall unit you want to change the position, then you can actually go into the XYZ coordinates of the same and then make any changes that you want. If you want to be like really accurate for like fillers or anything as such, then you can make it accordingly. Always understand that this is your positive X axis, this is your positive Y axis, and if you look at this way, then this is your Z axis. Then if you want to move it to your right side, you have to add in positive direction. If you want to move to your left side, go to minus it from the coordinates. Like for any point, like this is the point basically. This is the point for of XYZ coordinate, and then you're changing that coordinate. If you want to go to the right side, add like let's say you are 100 you want to change it. So 512. Then you can see that it moves that side. Then let's say you want to move down, then by 100 then we will just minus it by 100 and it'll move down. And Z axis is basically moving front. So the coordinates, which is typical geometry, basically XYZ coordinates, it's defined in that way for position and rotation also. Then comes, you have an option of cornice and pelmet also. So if you want to add a cornice here, you can turn on the cornice option and you can select whichever cornice you want to add. And while this is the new feature, so we are actually working on making this even better for you. So I would suggest that you give it a little time for the cornice feature to come in. But cornice is also something that we are launching because we have got a lot of requests from people about adding cornices and pelmets to wall units itself. So you can actually check from, you can actually start using it in some time as well. Then comes your layer option. All the furniture that you add by default will go into the layer option. But suppose if you want to work in a certain way that a certain cabinet you want to hide it, then you can change the layer to hidden and then go into the layer option here and turn off the visibility of the hidden layer. So it will get hidden. So this is how you can hide any cabinet if you want. Then this is about the pricing option. So if you want to exclude a certain cabinet from pricing, you can actually select it as true. Then it will get excluded from pricing because of any reason if you want to. And if you want to separately show a pricing or highlight it on the top or something, then you can select the show on pricing true here. This is not a very used feature, but then if anyone wants to use it, you can definitely do that. Then let's go to the construction option. When you go into construction option, um, the first option that we have is the carcass. Something that you require is the carcass. Basically, you can see carcass panel visibility as one option. So basically, you can actually, if you want to turn off the visibility of a certain panel, let's say for you don't want to see the top panel in this particular finish, you don't need the top panel, then you can actually turn the visibility of the same off. Like let's say I'm using this here, I'm just turning off the cabinet finish here, and then I'm selecting this, going into the construction option. going into the carcass option here, and you can see that if I turn off the left option here, this particular this particular panel's visibility is turned off. So it's removed basically. So you can actually turn off any panel on off accordingly. This is mostly used in case of back panels maybe, because sometimes people don't want a back panel in certain cases. So you can turn it off like for sink units or maybe dishwasher units or washing machine units. If you want to turn off the back panel, you can turn it off here. Then another use case that sometimes people have is with regards to please give me 1 second. Yeah. So the next thing that we would want to understand is the rail option. So if you want to change any particular panel to a rail option, then you can actually change that by going into, let's say, in this, a lot of times people want to have the panels on the top because they'll have a countertop or a countertop ply, or they want to install a hob, they want to have pattas here. So you can actually go into railing option, and here you can select full, in which case it will become a full panel, or you can use half top rails, in which case it will become a half top rail. And when you select a half top rail, you can actually change the orientation as per your requirement. Some people have it left, right. Some people have it top, bottom. So you can change the orientation also. You can also change the depth of it. Let's say if you want to make it more thinner, then you can make it 50 mm. Let's say front becomes 50 mm, top becomes 50 mm. So you can see that you can change it accordingly. For each of the panels, you can toggle into these and then change it, right? So this is how you can change any panel into pattas basically. Then if you want to add stability rails or anything, then you can add stability rails. If you want to change add stability rails at a particular height, you can add. What are stability rails? Like let's say I'm adding one stability rail. So what are stability rails? These are stability rails, like where on the back, if you need a support, this is mostly used for tall units or wardrobes. If you need to add stability rails, then you can do that. You can also put the height of the stability rails as per your requirement. Let's say 50 is the height that you want, you can change it accordingly. And you can put you can remove the stability rails, or if you want to add two stability rails, you can do that as well. How many ever stability rails you want, you can keep adding to it. So accordingly, and if you want to remove stability rails, you can just select remove, it will get removed. So this is about stability rails. Then becomes your extensions. If a particular carcass panel you want to extend, like if this particular panel you want to extend beyond a certain uh, dimension, then let's say I'm taking the left panel here, right? Of the carcass, I'm taking the left panel. Then you can see that I can either have an extension parameter, meaning whatever is the height of this panel now, I can give it a extension above that. From top, let's say I'm putting 50 here, then it will extend 50 So if I'm giving an extension parameter, that means if I go and change the dimension of this cabinet, let's say I'm changing the height of this cabinet to 900, then what will happen? The extension parameter will still be 50 here, right? Whatever is the revised height, then it will be 50 from that again. But if I'm giving a fixed dimension to it, then let's say I'm giving a fixed dimension of 1000 then this will become a particular dimension, and even if there's a modification to it, then it will not get changed, right? So you can play around with the extension of carcass panels also accordingly. You can also change, I'll just remove this now because it will create unnecessary confusion in the next move. So this is about carcass panel extension. Then comes your constructions. If you want to have a construction which is slightly different, because let's say some people want to have these patta till the end and the panel after that, whatever construction you want, right? So you can actually create it accordingly. So let's say
मैम थोड़ा
left
हिंदी में
back.
एक्सप्लेन कर
Hello.
मैम हिंदी में एक्सप्लेन कर दीजिए।
कौन सा वाला पार्ट एक्सप्लेन करूँ?
मैम अभी जो बता रही।
हाँ, सॉरी।
अभी जो आपने बताया उसी को रिपीट करने के लिए बोल रहे हैं।
ओके, कारकस के एक्सटेंशन के बारे में। ठीक है, आप बेसिकली कोई भी पैनल अगर आप सिलेक्ट करेंगे तो कंस्ट्रक्शन में जाएंगे तो आप कारकस ऑप्शन में देखेंगे, कारकस की विजिबिलिटी भी आप टर्न ऑन ऑफ कर सकते हैं। कौन सा पैनल आपको देखना है, कौन सा नहीं देखना है, आप वहाँ पे सिलेक्ट कर सकते हैं। फिर रेल ऑप्शन में भी आप सिलेक्ट कर सकते हैं कि आपको रेल में टॉप फुल रेल चाहिए या हाफ टॉप रेल चाहिए। आप हर पैनल के ऊपर ये डिसाइड कर सकते हैं, बेसिकली बैक पे क्या चाहिए, बॉटम पे क्या चाहिए, लेफ्ट पे क्या चाहिए। लेफ्ट पे अगर आपको रेल्स चाहिए तो रेल्स बन जाएंगे, उस हिसाब से आप ये चेंज कर सकते हैं कारकस में, राइट? वही बोल रहे थे हम। फिर देन गोइंग बैक टू द नेक्स्ट ऑप्शन, उसमें एंड पैनल का ये going back to the next option, it is about end panel. So basically, if you want to add an end panel to your particular carcass, then you can simply select on left end panel here, and there'll be an extra panel that will be added on this particular side, which will be the finish of your shutter. And you can see here that you can actually decide whether you want the end panel to be of the carcass depth or to be of the carcass depth with shutter. If you take with shutter, you can see that there's an extension now created till the shutter end. So you can define that also end panel wise. Then we will not be going into cam outputs because that is an advanced option, but anyone who has drilling details option, you can see in that as well. Then comes for a particular cabinet, the partition. You can see the partitions here. Partitions are very simple. The only thing that you need to check here is that you can add any number of shelves by selecting the plus option here. If you want to add more shelves, you can select it. And if you want to add any drawers or anything, then you can actually select from there also. We will go into partition separately on that. And shelf reveal is actually for the partition. We will go back in some time. Let's finish the shutter and then go into partition, because we will be discussing drawers also in there. Then when you go into shutter system, basically here you have the options first of the handle. Like you can change the door handle, you can change the orientation of the door handles, you can make it horizontal or vertical, you can change the placement of the handles wherever you want. Then you can shift it also manually. If you want to shift it manually also, you can change the material of the handle if you want. Like let's say I'm going to change handle material, and then my catalog will open up, and there I can change the material of the handle also. Then I can add in the shutter, I can add any sort of, like let's say this was one of the handle finishes. Let's say I can select anything, right? So you can see the handle finish changes accordingly. So you can actually change whatever handles you want. Then you have the next option of adding any mirror on the shutter. Let's say I'm adding a front mirror or glass. Then if I select that and I can select mirror option here, then you can see that a mirror is getting added here. And when you're selecting a mirror, then whenever you select this mirror, right, you will see another tab here of mirror. And then you can go into mirror and change, like you can change your, you can basically move your panel if you want by going into translate. You can change the extension parameters if you want to change the size. You can basically on all sides 50 mm reduction is given, but if you want only 25 mm, let's say, then on the right side it will extend further. Like you can see here, on all sides here it's 25 mm and everywhere it's 50 mm. So in this way you can add like mirrors also to it. Then
Like how do
comes your,
I sorry,
yeah.
how do I add like a flush profile handle? Like I don't want a handle, I want a G profile. Uh, so how do I
Okay,
add that
then
one?
you can go into shutter system here, handle, change handle, and then here you can go into profile and Gola handles, and here you have like kitchen profile handle, Gola handles you have, and you can use like J profile or any other type of handle that you want. Is that okay?
Okay, fine. Thank you.
No problem. So you can add mirrors also wherever you want, like we were discussing. And Then next comes your, when you after you have added mirrors and everything, you can also add mirror to the back side. Like for wardrobes and all, you might want to add mirror to the back side. So you have an option of add mirror or glass to the back side. So you can do that as well. Then you also have the option of remove shutter. If you want to remove shutter from a particular option, you can remove the shutter also. So these are for the customized options. Then comes your construction option. Herein you have shutter design. So if you want to change the shutter design of a particular cabinet, you can go there and you can change whichever design you want basically. Let's say I'm selecting this option. I can select it and the shutter will get changed. I will just remove the mirrors here because it's creating a confusion. So you can see that the shutter is now revised accordingly, right? So you can change the shutter designs of any cabinet accordingly. Select shutter. Huh. So this is about shutter designs. You can basically change shutters anywhere, and we keep adding new shutters to the warehouse. So add new shutters wherever you require. Then comes your divisional shutters. A lot of people ask us about how to add two different types of shutters in a particular design. So you can, let's say I'm selecting the plain shutter here, and then in divisional shutters, I add a horizontal division. So what happens is this shutter gets divided into two parts. Can you see the line here? Shutter gets divided into two parts now. So the top part, you can make a change by going into the panel. You can change the material here. So let's say whatever material you're selecting, if you select shutter, then whatever is the original finish of the shutter will get added here. And if you select self, then you can select whichever finish you want. Let's say I want to have a American maple finish, and I can do that. You can change the finishes accordingly. You can also uh, give it a property of the carcass itself. Whatever is the carcass finish, it will take it by default. So you can actually change, put multiple finishes by adding divisional shutters. You also have the option of having horizontal divisions and vertical divisions, whichever one you want. Like you have an option here of, now after you have added one horizontal, you have horizontal only, but you can add like horizontal and vertical shutters accordingly. Then next option that you have, let's say I'm selecting this. Next option that you have in construction is your the next option that you have is your shutter mechanism. The next option that you have is the shutter mechanism. Whether you want a double shutter or you want a rolling shutter, lift up shutter, whatever you want, right? Let's say we're taking this particular shutter into consideration. We're going to shutter system. And if you go into construction, you can see here shutter mechanism. So if you want, let's say, a single lift up, then this turns into a lift up shutter. And similarly, if you select anything like a double lift up, maybe, then it will go into that particular design. Like you can see, this is a double lift up now. So accordingly, you can have multiple different types of shutter mechanisms also. Like if you go into construction, here you'll get the shutter mechanism option, right? And for that particular shutter mechanism, if you need to add a hardware, then you can go here. Like if once your catalog is updated accordingly, you'll be able to add shutter mechanisms also from the carousel. Then comes your if there is a split and merge and required for a particular shutter. Let's say the shutter is now split. If you want to merge it or anything as such, like, because these are different, what happens is that for a tall unit, let's say, let's go ahead and add a tall unit here. Let's, for the sake of discussion, we'll go ahead and add a tall unit. So let's go ahead and add a tall unit here. You can see this is a tall unit. We will change the dimension of it to 600. So you can see this is a tall unit. Then when you select the shutter here, sometimes you might need to split it. Split means that this will become different shutters. And how does this split happen? This split happens based on the internal divisions, like how many of our shelves are there, right? Based on that, the first split happens. But suppose you say, "Nay, I want only one split and I don't want two splits." Then you can do this, and you can basically go to shutter system. After you have split it, you can select merge, and you can select the next option you want to merge with. This will become one shutter now. So what do? You select the shutter that you want to merge, then you go into shutter system, you go into construction, and here you select merge and select the next part of the shutter. This becomes merged. So if you want to, because it's a long shutter, sometimes people want to split it in between. So you can actually split the shutters also accordingly, right? You have that option as well. Then comes actually a shutter typically
आज बस एक दिन सीखे हैं.
the all shutters, like when they are added, right, a lot, they usually have a shutter reduction, so that when you are using two shutters together, there is a 1 mm gap that is usually left, so that the usability of the shutter is proper and it doesn't hit anywhere. But if you want to increase this or decrease this in reduction, you have the option of which side of the shutter you want to reduce. Just to give an example, if I'm taking for this shutter, if I'm taking 50 I'll take, then you will see that the shutter gets reduced accordingly. We have, in Infurnia by default we have 1 already inputted, but if you want to change it to any other shutter reduction width, then you can actually put it input it in reduction from the construction, and it will get reduced, right? Then we will move on to the shutter tab here. Shutter tab here it typically has like very less different features. It has only the mirror option, which we have already discussed, handles, and construction, the divisional shutter, which we have already discussed, right? So that is the thing. And then when you go into panel option, these deals with the single panel. It has all the similar options only, but it is about a single panel, and whatever you want to do with that single panel, you can change the material of that single panel, you can add a mirror to the single panel, you can add an extension parameter, anything to a particular single panel basically. So this is about about a cabinet. Now let us understand about the inside of the cabinet. The outside we discussed completely, right? But now let us discuss about the inside of a particular cabinet. So what we will go is, we'll go into furnish, let's say we'll go into basin, we'll take a very simple unit here with a simple unit cap, with no shelves, nothing. So you can see that when I select this cabinet, I can select the inside, which is a partition. It gets highlighted. If I click on it, it gets highlighted in blue. And then when I go into partition, it will show you that this is the active partition. Partition is basically the space inside the wardrobe where you are trying to add, subtract anything. So this is about the partition. So here actually what you can do, if you want to add drawers, you can add drawers. If you want to add more partitions, partitions are basically vertical division. So if I want to add a partition, I'll add one here. Then if you want to, once you add a partition, this becomes two different options now, right? There is one partition here, one partition here. So now you can actually flip between, this becomes the parent partition. The total area becomes the parent partition, and inside these, this becomes one partition and this becomes one other partition. And whichever partition you are selecting, it will get highlighted in, like whichever tab is active, it will get highlighted in yellow, so that you know where you are adding stuff. Now, if in this partition, if I want to add shelves, let's say I'm adding 3 shelves here, then this will add 3 shelves inside this particular partition itself. So this is, and now again, this becomes a child partition. You can see this is a
Sorry,
partition. This is,
I'm sorry. Can you
yes,
repeat this thing? Like how to divide?
yes, I'll repeat this once more.
Okay.
Let me conclude it once, and I'll repeat the entire thing again. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So then you can see this is parent partition 1, because this is the parent partition, right? Then this is parent partition 2. So this is how partitions occur. Now let us go back into the entire discussion once more, so that everybody has a revision. So you can see that if I click inside a particular cabinet, then this is the partition. Partition is basically the space, right? It's a space that is inside a cabinet. And when I select this particular cabinet here, and I go into the partition tab here, whichever when you click on a partition tab, it will highlight in yellow what partition is talking about. So any shelf or any partition that you're adding, any drawer you're adding, will get added to that. So now if I want to add a vertical, what is a vertical partition? Basically, when you add partition, it's the vertical partition. Vertically adding any division in your cabinet. Let's say I'm adding one here. So you can see that this adds a vertical partition here. So now there are two partitions here. Like these are child partitions. You can see when you select one partition, this is a child partition. And you can see parent partition one, which is the overall partition now. Now, whenever you go into partition here, inside this you are going, then if you are add, it's highlighted in yellow, right? So if I want to add shelves to it, let's say I'm adding 3 shelves here, then 3 shelves will get added here. Then in this side, let's say you want to go into the partition of this side and add drawers, then you can add like 2 drawers to it and drawers will get added accordingly. Now you can go inside each of the drawer, like you can go into the drawer systems here and click on internal. Then this will become internal drawers for you. And if you click on external, it become external drawers for you, right? So this is how you can add any partition or anything inside. Like if you want to change anything, you can do that. You can also control the shelf reveal. Shelf reveal is basically this distance. From the shutter, the internal shelf is always lesser so that the shutter does not hit the internal shelf. So we in Infurnia typically give a 20 shelf reveal, meaning the reduction that the shelf size would have. But if you want to make it 25, 35, whatever dimensions you want, you can change it here. And this is about shelf reveal. So you can actually go ahead and create all these sort of partitions and create different sort of panels accordingly in inside a particular cabinet, right? This is about partitions. Now let us understand one more thing, which is about drawers, and then we will look at a couple of things about corner units and conclude the session. So when you go into base unit, you have drawer units also. Now when you go into drawer units, let's say I'm adding this particular drawer unit here, and I'm adding this drawer unit here. When I'm adding this drawer unit and I'm selecting this drawer, the cabinet options are all the same. Partition options are also the same. But there is a drawer system here, which is different basically, where in customize, you can actually, materials and all are same here, but you can actually, thing to note is that you can mark a particular drawer as internal, meaning that it will take the finish of the carcass and it will go inside the carcass dimensions also. Like it'll get over where the carcass is getting over. Like you can see external, it will project out where the shutter, because the shutter of the drawer will become the shutter of the cabinet basically. And if you mark it as internal, it will go inside the cabinet. So you can actually create any sort of dimensions that you want here. You can also add filler to internal drawers. When you mark anything as an internal drawer, you have the option of filler. If you want to give a left filler or if you want to give a right filler, then you can actually add fillers like this. And when you go inside this, you have an option of controlling the size of the filler also. Like let's say I'm going inside and controlling the size of the filler here, then you can see that the filler size becomes 20 which I had given, which is a little less. Let me just change that. Filler size, left filler width, let's make it 50 and right filler width also, let's make it 50 So you can actually change it. You can also control which side you want to give a filler to. So this is how you can basically work on fillers as well. Then for a drawer, we'll just go back so that we can have the discussion again. So you can see this is the drawer, right? Here, the most important option in the drawer system is this only, about putting the construction as internal or external. And if you want to have like a box type or normal, that is not frequently used, but this is how you can actually do that. Then comes your drawer. The drawer tab here is about handles, accessories, etc. The important thing is about if you want to add any accessory to your drawer, basically, then you can go into drawer accessory. Let me open this drawer first. And then if you want to change it, let's say I want to make this a wicker basket. So I'll go into basket. And then when I go into basket, the carousel will show me all the options of baskets that I have. Let's say I want to make it a cup and saucer basket. So this will turn into a cup and saucer basket here. So you can actually make any changes you want in the accessory type. You can also change it to a tandem drawer. Let's say this particular drawer, I will select and I'll go into drawer, and in customize in drawer accessories, I'll go ahead and make it a tandem drawer. So in tandem drawer, I can select whichever tandem drawer I want, and it will turn into a tandem drawer accordingly. So this is how you can add any accessories to your particular drawer. Sometimes, let's say for wicker baskets. Okay, for wicker baskets, you don't really need the front face of the drawer. So if I'm changing this particular drawer, let's say I'm selecting this drawer and going to drawer, and in accessories, um, I'm changing the basket to a wicker basket. Okay, I can just write wicker here and change it to a wicker basket here. So when I change it to a wicker basket, I don't actually need the drawer fascia. So I can actually turn off the drawer fascia here, and the wicker basket will not have a fascia, right? So this is how you can actually make changes. This is how you can actually make changes to your drawers also. Then comes, if you want to remove a drawer also, these are very simple options. So this is about customizing a particular drawer. Now comes your corner unit. So if you go into a corner unit, let's say base unit, you have a corner unit. Then let's say I'm let's say I'm going into a L-shaped corner unit, and I'm placing the corner unit here. Then the only thing different about a corner unit is the dimensions. Firstly, that you have to consider one, two, three, four, five, six sort of dimensions, right? So there is like the front, back, left, back, all the different dimensions that are there. So basically, if this is the cabinet you are looking at, then side left is this dimension, front right is this dimension, then front back is this dimension, and side back is this dimension. So accordingly, you can make modifications here if you want. And the second thing that you might want to check is that when you go into shutter system, you have an option of add corner unit system. And herein you can add any type of corner units that you want to use. Like whatever corner units that you want to use here, you can actually add it and it will get added to your cabinet. So basically, in customizing a particular cabinet, this is an exhaustive list of the amount of things you can do. I'm sorry, this is not an exhaustive list of the things you can do, because Infurnia offers a lot of customizations and you can keep exploring it. A lot of times people feel that, Infurnia does not support this, that, but Infurnia actually supports a lot of customizations. It's only about the fact that you need to explore. And sometimes if you can't find something, you can simply use the search option here, and you will definitely find some option here at least. And it's just about going into the different tabs and finding out a tool which works accordingly, because we have already taken most of the edge cases, and if you still find that there are some features which you might want, you can always raise it with your CSMs and we can look at it. So now if then anyone has any queries, we would love to take that up. Does anyone have any queries at all?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Nishi.
Yes, I have to ask one question. I have to find the quotation of a whole kitchen, then how to find it?
How to what? Sorry.
I have to make a quotation of a whole kitchen, then how to make it?
Okay, so you'll have to go and input the cost of everything. It's not like you can make a quotation for your design automatically. At your admin side, you'll have to go into each of the cabinets used, and in pricing, you'll have to input the pricing here. I would suggest you to reach out to your CSM, because this is a very detailed discussion about how to set your pricing, and they'll be able to help you set the pricing for your organization as per the logic that you have, and then you can generate it.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Reach out to your CSM, please, because they have to solution it. What you're asking is not a straight cut answer, because they'll have to find a solution for you as to, according to the logic that your studio now uses. They'll have to set the pricing along with you. Like they'll have to tell you how to set the pricing and all, and then your pricing will get generated.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, is there any other question?
Like I have a doubt. I asked with Danya also. Like in corner unit, we open shutter two shutter, right? I need that in L shape with one shutter opening, like the 135 inches, like degree inches, like how we open. If you open this, no, we open two shutters, but I need one. So bifold this thing. So is it possible? Like I asked this with Danya
You
also.
have no in shutter mechanism, you have left bifold and right bifold. So you can open it. This you want, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay,
select the
thank you.
shutter.
But
Select
in
the
my
shutter. Go into, sorry.
this thing, it's not seeing this bifold one.
Sorry,
Let me
Tanisha,
have
but
it.
that's not possible. Just
Okay,
select
let
the
me have it.
shutter and shutter mechanism. You select left or right bifold. Okay. And this option
Okay,
is
fine.
available only for corner units. And you can select a corner unit and select it.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Right? No problem. Anyone else has any other query? Okay, if there are no further queries, then we will conclude this session, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next session next week. And thank you so much for attending this session. Thank you. And I really apologize for a connectivity issue in the middle. I'll try to ensure that that's not an issue in the future.
Not an issue, Rishit Bhanna. You can just share the link which you have recorded the session today.
Sure. I'll already upload it in some time. It takes a little time for the video to get uploaded. Then you can
Got it.
ask Kavya. You can just ping Kavya on the group. She'll share it accordingly.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.